Greetings. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks, Sr., your host, and this is Community Focus. We're very fortunate to have with us an exemplary young man, Mr. Ceasar Moore. He's an advocate for the 21st century generation. Good morning, Mr. Moore.
Good morning, Dr. Brooks. Thank you for having me this morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have looked all over Lake County again and found a young man that we like for you to know. He is an advocate for the 21st century generation. Mr. Moore, Lake County is approximately 750 to 800,000 people. And Community Focus is committed to having more young people on the program. And I'm very happy that you're taking time from your busy schedule to be with us. But first of all, I'd like for you to tell our listening audience a little bit about your personal and professional background.
I'm from Illinois, born and raised in Chicago, South Side.
Okay.
Been very active in the political field for many years now. And the main thing is I'm about community strength, community unity.
Okay.
And today, wisdom has shown me that now our children and our young men and women, they're lacking what individual like myself was given to yesterday, and that is the guidance, nurturing, protection, and unwavering love. And that's what Discouraging Factor Group is all about, trying to re-implement and give this back to our young today. Some of the things that we do, many things we do, is talk about imperative, prudent, and causation in the community. And when each one of these things is applied, we get a clear understanding of what we need to do as a community to uplift and reunite our 21st century youth. Because I believe they are the strongest, smartest generation that we have had. And with the right guidance, nurturing, protection, and the unwavering love of support, I believe they can come into their own and stand up and do what they need to do and what they know they should do.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, again, we're talking with Ceasar Moore, and as I mentioned, he's advocate for the 21st century generation. Tell us, Mr. Moore, about, the youth looking for guidance from the role models that we have in our community. But what are some of the preventive activities that's standing in the way of our youth and going forward with positive activities?
I'm glad you asked that question. Put in a nutshell, Dr. Brooks, it's just knowledge. Knowledge. If you don't know, you cannot do. And that's the thing. Our children have been stripped of that guidance, that overseer to teach them, and that's what we here at our Discouraging Factor Group, that's what we do. It's educate. We bring an educational factor to the arena to, again, educate, because everything we talk about is truth and can be verified. For instance, when we do, like right now, you're here to talk about how the prison entity business is striving great for them.
Okay.
Yet the educational entity is declining tremendously. What a travesty, because our youth are not having the opportunity to get that quality education, yet they getting the first class flight or ride to the penal system. And that's what we're saying again, education wise, we have to show our youth and our young men and women how it's imperative for them to strive on education, and how education cannot and will not be a loss, whereas the prison entity, it do nothing but cause you to be trafficked upon. Corporate America, they have this design, and they have their statistic numbers of what they look for and what they need. That's why they're able to continue to build and build. Because when business is good, you expand. And as we see, the public school system across America is being shut down and privatized with charter schools and all of that because, again, they believe the powers to be foresee the prison institution as being America of tomorrow more so than education.
You mentioned about the prison system, but it's the cost factor, about $40,000 to $50,000 a year per inmate. In the federal prison, even up to $90,000 to $100,000 to house an inmate. But for education, it's only maybe like some areas less than $10,000 per student. Something is wrong with that picture. It's my understanding that the prison system is becoming prioritized. In other words, it's big business.
Yes, sir. It's all about the money. Greed. Greed is what our American government has allowed corporate America to participate and have, their reign of doing. Mm-hmm. Angela Davis, I go back into history because, again, we as a nation of people, we seem to abandon our history of yesterday. Mm-hmm. Therefore, it prohibit us from being able to go forward and be strong and know what not to do, what not to participate, what not to allow to be happen to us. Whereas here we go in 1965, a professor who's an AKA Black Panther Party member, mm-hmm. got her knowledge as a professor, came back to the community and educate the people on what a U.S. government was doing, what they was allowing corporate America to do. And now, again, they were trying to privatize the prison system so they can sit out there and make billions of dollars off the back of trafficking human bodies. And unfortunately, the black community seemed to be the best candidate to do that too.
Well, I saw in the paper recently that a federal judge that was convicted. He was charged and convicted for contributing to sending young black males to prison.
Yes, exactly. Because you got to understand, again, corporate America is no more than Walmart, superstores out here. Business have to strive in order for them to succeed. You got small towns mm-hmm. that depends, non-black, that depends off the trafficking of another nation's body in order for them to survive.
Amazing.
So again, the judges, they get on the payroll, they do whatever that need to be done to help promote and push this. So of course, they need to convict and incarcerate at a high rate of numbers our young generation in order for them to strive for the next century.
There's a disparities in the numbers, though, between minorities, that's African Americans and Hispanics, then Caucasians. In other words, you look at that picture and you say, well, maybe Caucasians don't commit crimes. We can laugh about it, but it's serious matter,
Very serious.
If you go to the courts system let's see. I think I was looking at the public defender's office. Probably there's maybe one African American public defender in the office there, but most of the clients coming through are minorities, African Americans and Hispanics. Something's wrong with that picture. They need somebody that they can identify with and not take plea bargain.
Yeah, exactly. Attorney, when they take their oath, they swear to zealously represent their clients. Okay. But today, a lot of these private attorneys threw that out the window and they'll swap out, And what they're doing, they're able to manipulate single parents, mothers whose children might get into trouble, and they do not have that male figure with the knowledge to guide and help pick out a worthy attorney to represent his or her child, a loved one that might be caught up in the system. They got caught up in some case where they had to go to court.
What about living on the Chicago South Side? What's the difference between that and living in Lake County?
Well, you know what? Today it's no different.
Okay.
Today it's no different across the nation of America. What happened is our communities have been stripped of leadership, and that was done intentionally. I had to sidebar for a moment because I heard some politicians speak, black politicians, just recently speak about how any individuals, males or females, that participating in things that are against society, such as gang activities and all this, that they should just be cast away. And that's no good. Whereas yesterday, we had strong black leaders who would protect our children from even getting into the system, who guided our children, who nurtured them and gave them positive things to do. When I look at politicians, even in Lake County today, you have black aldermen, and they side with the law enforcement, and they only cure for keeping the community safe is locking up all the males that they believe that's not in coinciding with what they believe in.
So they're contributing to the system.
Yes, sir. Very much. Whereas yesterday, when you look, you had leaders, and I'm going to use this name, and that's such as Jeff Fort.
Okay.
When he came and he brought that mighty nation, what he did, he also advocated education. He advocated respect. When they was around, when you look back just maybe 30 to 40 years ago, we didn't have drive-by shootings. You didn't hear about innocent children getting killed or elderlies getting shot because there was an order out there. There were strong men who sit up there and was involved in the community and made sure that when the kids had idle times, they formed baseball teams, softball teams, league ball teams, all kind of activities. It was because of them that we had grants. We never seen so many social centers in Chicago when these gentlemen was out. But again, you have someone like former Mayor Daley, who was state's attorney at the time, when Jeff Fort had that fort, and there was a center that he put together to guide, nurture, and protect and render unwavering love to his young black warriors coming up. Mayor Daley, at the time, State's Attorney Daley, he was able to get that fort shut down. And his exact words was, we need to erase this memory of him. We have to erase it so no other young man can take this vision and rebirth this vision that this man had. We had J. Edgar Hoover, our former director of the FBI, said the same thing when it was Panther Party was around. They was doing a movement so great to uplift their community, again, with guidance, protection, unwavering love, and nurturing of the young, that he said, we cannot have this. Because if they ever get it right and unify and become organized as a nation of people, America would never be the same. So that's the threat. That was the fear. So they cut off the head, and today we got all these lost children because the few supposed to be black males that in leadership, they too afraid. They done became afraid of their own children. They sit back and they look council meeting, they sit with the police and say this and that, but they do not come into the community and deal with the young men. And to me, communication have always been the number one thing since the Roman times. And today, communication is the key factor to anything. And that's what we look at today. So that's what I do, my organization. And we have others such as, I have to mention these two gentlemen, Detective Rollins from North Chicago Police Department. Great, that's your example of a strong man coming into the community trying to make a difference. We have another young man who's anointed by God, Joshua Randolph. Again, you have to see he's bringing in these guys, and you should see them. The same men that you see is the same men that these so-called aldermen from First Ward, North Chicago Ward, they're afraid to come deal with them. They're afraid to sit and talk to them. They're afraid to offer them anything besides aiding the law enforcement to incarcerate them, stripping them stripping our women's, stripping the children that needs guidance.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, we're talking with Ceasar Moore. He's an advocate for the 21st century generation, and he is a young man that's trying to make a difference in Lake County. But tell us, and he's looking for actually leadership, not only in the black community, but like President Obama, for example. He's an African American, but he is trying to make a difference. Are you familiar with his the White House in My Brother's Keeper community challenge?
Yeah, I am, and I'm an advocate for that because that's just the same thing. The 5 pillars that I keep repeating exactly what he says. My brother's keeper. We need that, Like I say, the young men in the communities who feel like they only have to take this avenue to survive, it's understandable because, again, knowledge is king. Knowledge is power. If you don't know, then you only do what you do know. Okay. However, when you get someone who's prudent to come in and show them other options, it's no more than the old Elijah Muhammad used to say, if you give a person a glass of clean water and a glass of dirty water, which one you think they're going to drink from? Given the option, of course, they're going to go with the clean water. Okay. But if you only put that dirty water and they thirsty, they're going to grind up in there.
Okay. Now, what about the role of churches in the community?
Yeah. Again, what's so sad is...
I mentioned that because in the South, the churches took the lead in the civil rights movement. Even Dr. Martin Luther King was active, and we have many other churches. And the people used to meet at the churches and so forth. That was the role models and the leaders in the community. But do we have that now?
I can't speak for all churches because I'm sure there's some good. But see, numbers. We're a nation that we work off numbers. Numbers is what it is at. So right now, when you statistically look at the numbers factors, you got 100 churches, only 3% willing to participate in the community. Then that put all of them in the category that the church is not doing anything in the community. However, it's a simple thing. You're right. You got so many churches that yesterday, pastors would welcome those men walking the street. They would welcome a young man with his head down, seeming confused. He would come out there and bring them in. Okay. Today, it seems like they lock the doors. They don't want them in there. And what we get down to is they wonder why the community is so divided. If you make someone feel unwanted, if you make someone feel as though they're your enemy, then how do you expect them to react? How do you expect them to respect you, to look at you, to even consider you with love? In order to receive it, you got to give it. Now, myself and my group, I think from Chicago all the way here to Lake County, we're welcomed by everyone because we are about community. I don't care if you're 10, 17 to 30 to 60. Our love, our respect that we give is universal for the community. We don't sit up there and deviate and say, oh, because you're over here and you might be doing. No. You can't do that. I do, like I say, in regards to killing in the communities, that's just, it's sadness, it's madness, it's genocide of our own people. So again, we still have to go right to those young men and let them know that yes, whatever you're doing, you still have to have a responsibility. You carry responsibility anytime you get into any venue in life. And we're going to have altercations in the community. Because we're going to have those that's not going to go, not all college bound, all want to go this way. We got entrepreneur minds that believe that this method that they go by is what they need to do. And that's up to us to show them empirically, comparing and showing them. And it takes men who have succeeded, come from the community, just as well to say, hey, I understand what you believe, but let me show you this. Give them, create an option, because that's what was created for myself and men's in my age bracket. That was given to us yesterday.
Mr. Ceasar, you have a great challenge. You have a great vision. But how long have you, since you organized the 21st century generation?
You know, I've been doing this strongly for many years, but the 21st century group, we took on this maybe 7 years now.
Okay.
And I promise, from Chicago and then here, we have made tremendous strides. We participate with the North Chicago Community Group. Okay. And again, from the response we have, they welcome us back because they see the difference. From our Black Man Reading and Bond organization, when we was doing that for the school system, they loved that because they seen a tremendous increase in the reading scores of these young men who were, again, desiring to read, but if you don't know and you don't have that confidence, it makes you pull away. But when you give them that nurturing, when you give them that unwavering support and let them know that they can and give them the guidance of teaching, man, I mean, you'd be surprised. You know, we got so many hidden talents in our communities.
Okay.
We got untapped talents because the churches refuse to come out and grab those that might be musically inclined with instruments, you know, to blow the horn. We don't know. We got all these historical from yesterday, Armstrong and other jazz musicians, that we got those diamonds in the rough in our community today. But their talents will not be shown because we have individuals who's our 20th century and they refuse to come in and touch and love their own children. It don't have to be your biological child. Any child in your community, especially North Chicago, that should be the birthing place for Lake County, where they need to come together and unify. But again, we need to sit up here and make those that's in office accountable.
You mentioned about education, but it starts really at the grammar school level. Matter of fact, I think about a third grade, there's a data that shows that if a child is having difficulty by third grade and in reading, each year, they get further behind, and by the time they reach high school, they're not going to be able to, keep up, and they have a tendency to drop out. And once they drop out, they do the things that cause them to be incarcerated. And then once you get the felony on your record, it's very difficult to erase. And that's where you mentioned about the large population in your prison. So going and getting the reading assistance in the grade schools, I think is fantastic. That's going to lower your dropout rate and put the emphasis on education, learn a skill, and get into some professions. I had two young men, and I'm going to have you meet them probably Thursday at lunch. They came to my home, and two of them had their lawnmowers with them. They had a flyer, and they were from Wilberforce University, and they want to cut grass during the summer to raise money for them to assist them in college. I thought that was great.
Yes,
I immediately let them use my, cut my grass, and they had a flyer, so I emailed this to all over my blast, my list there, and also I gave it to my alderman. He wanted it, and he going to blast his. And also Rita Mayfield, the state representative, saw the information I promulgated, and she requested a flyer. She wants to promulgate it to her list. And this is what, now these young men are learning to be, not only just raise money, to be entrepreneurs.
Yes, sir.
How to, and so forth. So I think this is the type of thing that we should get active on, and it's assisting the youngsters.
When we go back in history, and again, like I say, we got so many men of yesterday that are nothing but products of communities such as ours, North Chicago, Chicago South Side. We got one gentleman, Timothy Evans, He's the Chief Justice for Cook County.
Oh, yeah.
And he was an alderman for the South Side.
Yes.
But he was a true, strong black man. Okay. As he strived, he kept reaching back to help those, particularly those. I come from Stateway Garden Projects, and when he was over there, when those put in work, he made sure we got so many young men that would have been lost, but they're firemen today.
Okay.
We got so many young men working for CTA, telephone companies, all that. That was Timothy Evans and his entourage back then, reaching out, black men striving, but not forgetting about the black young men coming behind them.
Okay.
And that's the thing. We got these other ones that's on this selfish thing that they just want to get in the magazine, show that they talking about everything, not accomplish anything. And yet, we got certain people that would publish them in a magazine every month. And what you show them is sitting at some party, and grabbing accolades for something that they haven't put no work into.
Back in the 70s, I played a great role in the North Chicago branch of the NAACP, and we attended conventions and brought back information and try to make this a better community. I had the Veterans Administration involved, and Great Lakes was involved, and so forth. But what is the role of the NAACP now as youngsters may view it?
You know what? I don't know what their role are now. I think they're an obsolete organization that just need to probably be revamped entirely because they're not doing a thing. I don't know if they ever did anything. Jesse Jackson, I guess, when he was part of them, he made a difference because, again, what I say, and I don't mean to point finger, what I say, if it's not written, it don't exist. Okay. Meaning that if you can't show on paper the accomplishments that you made in regards to the uplifting of our community in every fashion, then you haven't done a thing. Holding a position and just talking, anyone can do that.
Okay.
We can get a parakeet to do that part. What we want is someone who's going to put in work. And like I say, with our organization alone, what I say, everything can be verified. For whatever we talk about can be verified. This is what not being done with so-called leaders in the community today. And again, I'm particularly hitting Waukegan in North Chicago community, those so-called advocates. You mentioned Rita Mayfield. I compliment her. She's a politician, and which requires you to have shock teeth, but yet she's still a humble individual who fear God. She's a God-fearing woman who still believes in her community. So she reached out to her community, And then, again, we have certain lawyers. There's one, Douglas Zeit. He's that lawyer. That other lawyers you need to take an example from, that when he get in, he zealously represent his clients because I do, surveys to see. And it's disgusting that these men come in and proclaim the zealously want to represent you, but then they so easily to swap you out. I wouldn't deal with them, but like I said, I pay attention to see how young men, where families is putting $60,000 up to prohibit their children from going in and giving them a second chance in life, and a lawyer wind up swapping them out. How can you win with that?
Just the last statement here.
Yes,
we got to do a part 2 and 3, on this, but just a statement here. We have an organization. Have you worked with them? The Coalition to Reduce Recidivism. This organization provides assistance in shelter, and they got a record to show how they have assisted with employment, getting food, and working with families. So have you worked with them?
No, I have not, and I'll give you my reason. I commend them for what they do.
Okay.
And like I say, when we got something that's working, then there's no need for someone else to venture off to that. They doing a great job. They need no assistance, and their track record shows it. Well, I have no problem with them.
You've done a great job. I really appreciate it. Our time is winding down.
Thank you
Ladies
so
and
much.
gentlemen, we want to thank you for listening to another awareness session on Ceasar Moore, advocate for the 21st century. This has been Community Focus. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks, Sr., your host.